What's up, everybody? It's Jordan, and welcome to the Sports Behind Show. Today is July 20th, 2021, and in this video, I am joined by Mike on the Mike Sports. How you doing today, Mike?
I am doing great. It's been a big day already in the sports world, and it's not even 10:30 in the morning yet here in California.
Yeah, going into this episode, I thought the only thing we'd pretty much be talking about would be Game 6 of the finals, but there has been tons of news past couple of hours. But, lots of things to talk about. Speaking of the finals, I guess we'll go ahead and get that, out of the way. Game 6 is tonight. And, last game, the Bucks pulled in a very impressive, comeback victory. The very impressive alley-oop by, Giannis to come back and win the game and everything. So what are your kind of expectations for Game 6, and who do you have winning this game?
It's over. It's over, Jordan. The Bucks, let me get this link out real quick. The Bucks are going to be champions tonight, I think. I just don't see it. I don't see it from the Suns. I know the last game was close. They brought it back and got it close. But most of that game, the Bucks dominated. The Bucks have dominated the last 3 games, most of the games. 3-game losing streak. I don't see you waking up and just being like, all right, now we're turning it around in Milwaukee too. And another thing is where is the motivation that the Suns have now, and all the Suns fans are saying that the Suns players have now, when they're up 2-0. It's the NBA Finals. You're up 2-0. You got to stay on the gas pedal. They let their foot off the gas pedal. They let Giannis get healthy, and Giannis is healthy. I think last time I was on the show, I was talking about how I got the Bucks in 6 games. Bucks in 6 games.
Yeah, I originally had the Suns in 6, and the way the Bucks have performed the last couple of games have been extremely impressive, especially the fact, they finally have put their pieces together. Giannis is healthy. Middleton is being more consistent than he is. Holiday is being more consistent. They're having more guys step up. And with the Suns, it's like when you're up 2-0, just continue what you're doing. Don't change anything or anything like that. And then all of a sudden you lose 3 straight games, and then you have to go to Milwaukee to play. I have to see the Bucks win this one. It's too hard to me to see the Suns win because losing 3 games straight, you have 0 momentum. You go to Milwaukee with their fan base, and with those games being in Milwaukee, they have been absolutely crazy. The fans have been really into it. I would probably have to see Milwaukee in this one. The Suns, it's crazy because kind of like an underdog type of story, a team who has sucked for so long. But at the same time, they've got lucky with different injuries, playing the Lakers without Davis and, different teams like that. But when you really look at this, if the Suns don't win the NBA Finals this year, I think we're going to have to talk about if Chris Paul might not even ever win the NBA Finals, which sucks because, he was 2 games away and still is. But one of the best point guards of all time, it's looking now that the odds of him winning the NBA Finals are getting very, very, very slim.
Yeah, this has to feel like his last opportunity. And Giannis is absolutely balling. Yes, he's not taking shots, and he shouldn't be taking shots at this point in the finals. But when he is needed to take over and he is needed to dominate on both ends of the ball, on both ends of the court, he is coming out and dominating. He's getting key blocks at the end of games. He's slamming home key dunks at the end of games. Giannis is stepping up in this moment, and the Suns could have been fine if losing 2 straight and getting it to 2-2. It was the Game 5 loss in Phoenix. That kills them, man. And I think that ruins their chances to win it. If they somehow squeak out tonight's game, I think I'm probably going to take the Bucks in Game 7. If they win tonight, the Suns will kind of flip the entire NBA world on its head. I think a lot of people are starting to shift towards, yes, we want the Suns to win. Everyone's rooting for the Suns, except for me, obviously. But everyone else is rooting for the Suns. So, but the accepted most likely outcome is the Bucks being champions tonight.
I feel like if the Suns end up winning this game, this is going to be one of the most intriguing Game 7s we've ever seen because, a team wins 3 games straight, but, the Suns win 2 straight. This is not a super team versus super team. These are 2 teams who have not been good for a long time. You have CP3, who's trying to get the ring desperately towards the end of his career. I feel like I want to see the Suns win tonight because I feel like Game 7, this is going to be one of those games where, not as big as the Cavs and Warriors several years ago, but I think it'll be up there with it as, you don't know who's going to win. It's going to be such an amazing, series, whoever ends up winning. And if the Suns end up losing, do you think Chris Paul should retire?
That's tough. He's playing at a high level still, and he could still go to another team and help them out, especially if he's willing to take a pay cut and join up with another superstar who's kind of in their prime anywhere in the league. Because Chris Paul's the guy that you can plug in and play with almost anyone except for a ball-dominant guard. Anyone but Russell Westbrook. And Chris Paul is going to work well with them pretty much. I'm super impressed, man. And I think the key matchups in the last 3 games is the Bucks got a lot of scenarios where Ayton's trying to guard Giannis. And yes, Ayton's a very good and very capable defensive player. It's just Giannis is freakishly fast and freakishly strong for his height and size. So not even Ayton can keep up with him. And then also with Chris Paul versus Drew Holiday, I think Chris Paul's winning the matchup on the stat sheet. But if you actually watch the game, Drew Holiday is pressing Chris Paul up and down the sidelines. And is forcing Chris Paul to use all of his energy in the first, second, and third quarter. And you're seeing in the fourth quarter, Chris Paul's been kind of disappearing. It's because Drew Holiday's ran around like a maniac the whole game. He's had the chase.
It's like the last couple games as well. Like you look at the games the Bucks have won, Chris Paul has not been nearly as impressive as he was those first 2 games. It's going to be really interesting. I'm really, really hoping to see the Suns win this game. I don't really care at this point who wins the finals. I just want to see a Game 7 because there's very, very few things in sports that's more intriguing than a Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And kind of staying on the track, of basketball, the U.S. Men's basketball team, Bradley Beal and Kevin Love were replaced, on the team, and they were replaced by, of all people, JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson, which to me is just laughable. You have Julius Randle, who's one of the most improved players this past season in the NBA. Ja Morant, who is going to be an NBA superstar. He's going to be one of the big-time players in the NBA for years to come. And then you have Zion, who was not picked to be in the USA men's team. To me, this makes absolutely no sense. You say Zion's the next LeBron, he's the next Jordan, he's the next guy for the next decade in the NBA, but he's not even on the U.S. men's basketball team. I don't even like Zion. I can't stand him. But it's the fact, there's no denying the fact that he's going to be a star in the NBA, one of those guys for the next decade. How could you not have him on the U.S. Olympic team? It makes no sense. You want to try to have him be the next guy? You're basically not letting him be the star that he's capable of being by not letting him be on the team. And instead you have guys like freaking Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee is, he is overrated in my opinion. He's not really good much at all. Even Randall, Morant, all those guys are capable of being over McGee and Keldon Johnson. There's so many other players as well. There's probably about 10, 15 players at least, in my opinion, I would put over those 2 guys. It makes no sense. And especially with, Team USA losing a couple exhibition games, I feel like if Zion was on those teams, I feel like it would have been different. Same thing goes for Ja Morant. But to me, this decision to not have him on the team makes 0 sense at all.
Yeah, the original decision to not have these guys on the team. All right, here we go. Talked about the Bucks for a minute and didn't mention their best player, Giannis. I did mention him a couple times. We got some late comments here. CP3 will not retire and will not and should retire. Dang.
I think he's talking about Middleton. And I know I said before, I wish somebody loved me the way Tony Tucker loves Middleton. It's crazy.
Chris Middleton has been hitting some big shots. There you go, Tony. We'll give it to him. Anyways, back to the USA team. The thing with Zion is whether it's Team USA, whether Zion pushed back and said that he wasn't that interested in playing. Whatever it is, whoever is at fault for these guys not being on Team USA or failing Team USA and failing our chances at getting a gold medal this year. I still like our chances. I still love our chances, actually. I think that's the best basketball team out there. It's just a chemistry thing, and that's what exhibition games are for, is to build chemistry and practice. But Zion should be on the team. I got people in my comment section. I made a post about this saying that, what if Zion didn't want to do it? What if it didn't make sense for his brand? Yada, 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 this and that. Someone said they look at the Olympics as an equivalent to the Pro Bowl, and we shouldn't ask players like Zion to go and play in them. I strongly disagree with that. But people, whatever reason you have in the book for Zion not being there, it does not make sense that he is the future face of basketball and he is not representing the country on that team. No matter whose fault it is, whether it's the team's fault or Zion's fault, it makes no sense that he's not out there. My quote was, "Where the hell is Zion Williamson?" And then John Morant also. I'm losing a little bit of respect for John Morant because they did go to him and he came out with a quote that said, "You didn't want me originally, then I don't want to go play for you now." You're not going to go and represent your country and help win gold over pettiness?
That's
over
ridiculous.
simple, dumb pettiness. You're not going to go out there and try and win the gold medal. And it cuts deeper and deeper and deeper with my background and everything with comments like that. But people defend these takes and these actions, and it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about Morant. I mean, not going for pettiness is ridiculous. I mean, you're getting an opportunity to play for Team USA, the best basketball players in our country, the best basketball, here in the U.S., we have the best basketball players in the world. And the fact that you're going to be one of those select few that have an opportunity to play for a team and you don't want to play for pettiness is absolutely ridiculous. That makes no sense to me. And you mentioned, you heard somebody compare the Pro Bowl to the Olympic team. I mean, I've heard lots of stupid takes, but that's definitely up there at the top because the Pro Bowl, it's not even the best players in the league. It's a popularity contest. Mm-hmm. And while the Olympic team, aside from JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson, are some of the best players in the world. I just don't get it. I mean, Morant, I don't. To me, that's really really stupid in my opinion. I don't get how people can defend that because it's like kind of what I just said. And then with Zion, I still don't get it, and even Randall as well. But Morant, that's just really really stupid, and it's really idiotic that people actually defend stuff like that. When, okay, you're still getting an opportunity to play, maybe he should not have been, the first selection, the first 12, 15 people, but, maybe a reserve type of guy, and you still don't want to do it. That's very disrespectful to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just uncalled for, and it just, like I said, it just makes me lose a little bit of respect for the guy. I still love him as a player, and on the court, obviously, he's a ton of fun to watch. Same thing with Zion. They've got to play phenomenal to get back into like the positive image in my mind, because they're young guys that should be hungrier than they are. They should want to go out there and play, in my opinion.
And playing on the Olympic team, I don't get how that would not help you. If you're on the Olympic team, you're automatically going to get so much more advertising and marketing. Players, fans in different countries and places where basketball is not really a big sport. They see you play. Oh, I like this guy. And then all of a sudden you have like a top jersey style, just different countries. This is how guys like Carmelo, he's been on the Olympic team for years. So is LeBron. I mean, those guys were top stars, but they made themselves even bigger for being on the U.S. Men's team. I just do not really get that at all. It's very stupid by Morant. But, kind of switching to the next topic here. Breaking news out of the NFL, earlier today. This team was, as of today, it was probably going to be my Super Bowl prediction in the NFC. Rams starting running back Cam Akers was announced he tore his Achilles and is out for the season. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
It's painful. It sucks. He was about to have a breakout year, in my opinion. He was about to have a 1,200-yard, 300-yard receiving year, possibly. He was about to go nuts. It sucks for Cam. For the Rams, as a bigger picture, the step from Cam Akers to Darrell Henderson isn't drastic. Yes, Cam Akers, I'd rather have him as my starter than Darrell Henderson, but the step down is not as drastic as it would have been if like a team like the Bengals lost Joe Mixon or the Chargers lost Austin Eckler or Joshua Kelly. I just brought up our teams because they're good examples of the step down from the RB1 to the RB2. Darrell Henderson has experience being the RB1 in football games, in NFL games, and be decent at it. And if you go and look at Darrell Henderson's numbers, anytime he got RB1 volume in his career so far, it's pretty similar to Cam Akers. So for the Rams as a whole, I still love to see them as an NFC favorite and be competing for the NFC this year. It just sucks for the player himself because we knew he was going to have such a big year. It does hurt the Rams depth-wise, though, because now if Henderson goes down, now they are screwed. So we'll see how that unfolds. But if Henderson can stay healthy, I don't think for the Rams this is the end of their year by any means. This isn't like if they lost their 2,000-yard rusher. That's not what they're losing here. But it still sucks for the player because we knew that this was going to be his year to go out there, have a breakout year, and probably make his money.
Yeah, I feel like Cam Akers this season was going to be a top 10 running back in the NFL. And, I mean, it sucks because, I mean, this hurts, his, recovery and everything going to be out the whole season. This hurts the team quite a bit because I really think the Rams are capable of being in the Super Bowl. I think they're the only team in the NFC that has any chance to actually compete with the Buccaneers. And, I mean, him being out, that's going to be a big drop-off. But, I saw an interview the other day. Adrian Peterson said he still wants to play. And I know that's a huge drop-off. But if I'm the Rams, I would probably maybe try to sign Peterson or maybe even former Ram Todd Gurley because I know running back's the easiest position to replace in the NFL. But let's say if Henderson goes down, then all of a sudden you have like absolutely nobody. This sucks to see for Akers. And definitely wishing a speedy recovery on him. But I think it'll be kind of smart for the Rams to maybe go after a guy like Peterson or Gurley. Maybe one of those top running back free agents. To maybe have a running back committee because we've kind of seen that in the past with the Rams, and I think it would make quite a bit of sense.
Yeah, any of those guys would be a good addition to the running back room, especially if you're going to roll out Henderson as your primary running back. Just having someone a little bit experienced in there, ready to go, just in case something happens to that guy, and they could take a few carries off his back too to lower the risk of injury in games that aren't super close. I think the Rams are going to blow some teams out this year, some of the weaker teams they play. So hopefully they can stay healthy through those.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if they end up signing somebody, but, definitely wishing Akers a speedy recovery. So the next topic here, this was, I believe it was yesterday. And I know, you might have been a fan of him, he was with the Chargers. Melvin Ingram signed with Pittsburgh. What are your thoughts on, Ingram, with your former team going to Pittsburgh?
Well, the fit makes sense for them. They got a loaded defense. They got a loaded defensive line. Melvin Ingram, to me, is at a point in his career where he still can be a positive addition to a team like this, but he has to go in as the third pass rusher. He has to go in on third down, fresh, healthy, not tired, not gassed, because the guy has had so many injuries in his career. And at this point, he is like an old car. But yes, the car still runs, and it gets you from point A to point B. But how effective is it? I think it's a good spot for him to land. If I was going to have him go somewhere, I'd rather him go somewhere like Pittsburgh. I saw that Tennessee was like a rumor. He would have to do a lot of work in a place like Tennessee. I saw Dallas was possibly a rumor, Kansas City. He would have had to do a lot of work. He would have to come in and be their starter. He can come into Pittsburgh and be a rotation guy and be effective for them. So this is a good fit for him. I'm glad the Chargers kind of moved on just because we've been sending out the same D-line over and over and over again. And yes, we've been a slightly above average D-line, but we had the potential with Bosa to build something elite. So I'm glad that we're finally moving on and trying to work on something new. But for Pittsburgh and for Melvin Ingram, this kind of is a perfect landing spot for him.
Yeah, I agree with what you said there. I feel like this is the perfect spot, and there was not a better situation for Melvin Ingram to go to than Pittsburgh. And, he doesn't have to be the top guy. With him not starting and him being in the more so rotation, he takes a little pressure off him. But don't let Pittsburgh signing Melvin Ingram let you forget that the Steelers will finish last in the AFC North this season. It's going to happen. And I really do like this move, though. I hate to see it happen, going at this for the team I hate the most, though. But this is just a perfect fit, and this is a Steelers-type move. It seems like every single season, the Steelers make a move, whether it's on offense or defense. A guy who's maybe up there in age, maybe not what he used to be. Then he signs with Pittsburgh, and, he doesn't have, great stats, but his production is definitely there. And this is one of those situations for Pittsburgh. I feel like this is a match made in heaven because you have some nice guys on defense, like, TJ Watt. I think Alex Highsmith is going to have a terrific season. Then you have Melvin Ingram, who's like your third best pass rusher at this point. I feel like this even helps, Pittsburgh's defense even more. We already knew they were going to have a top 5, top 10 defense. But the fact they get Melvin Ingram, it's very, very impressive and makes their overall team much better and makes them a more interesting team, possibly in playoff contention. But I highly, highly doubt it.
Yeah, I know that you're going to be low on Pittsburgh, especially being a Bengals fan. That defense is still going to be something special especially if Devin Bush can get back out there on time. But something I'd like to pose to Mike Tomlin. The Chargers flirted with it a little bit in the last 2 seasons with Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram was always a taller, more athletic, speedy pass rusher who could actually go out and go into pass coverage if need be. But now, as of late, he's put on some size, good size and bad size. Think about moving him inside. Think about it. Maybe if you get all 3 of those guys in the field at once on downs where you know that the opponent's going to be passing, that might be a good move. Melvin Ingram going against a guard changes things versus going against a left or right tackle.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, because if you have Highsmith, Ingram, TJ Watt, and Casey Hayward all on the field at the same time, regardless of who your offensive line is, I mean, we've seen Kansas City have an improved offensive line. You're pretty much screwed. I mean, that's how Steelers won their games last season, because they're terrific defense. And a situation like that, it's going to be nearly impossible for any team, to stop them. But I honestly think, that would be a great move for Pittsburgh. Honestly, that probably would be the best idea to get all those guys in the field at the same time. Because, okay, let's say you run on the right, you got a top edge, you run through the middle. I mean, you still have Melvin Ingram, who's a Pro Bowler. I mean, you're really screwing with any team's offense there. And it'll be interesting to see how Ingram, kind of fits the scheme with Pittsburgh, how he fits in their role. And kind of switching to the next topic here. This was a big one earlier today with Aaron Rodgers. He declined a 2-year deal to become the NFL's highest paid player. This makes no sense. The Aaron Rodgers situation is completely blunt. Is so stupid in my opinion. I don't understand it. Aaron Rodgers is the only quarterback in the NFL who has a top 5 quarterback, a top 10 running back, and arguably the top the top tackle in the NFL in David Bakhtiari, a decent defense. We didn't see Tom Brady complaining a ton when he was with, New England. He did not have, tons of targets and everything. Aaron Rodgers has went to the NFC Championship game for 2 straight years. And, last season, you can honestly make a case that he was part of the reason why they lost that game. The crucial, one of the 3rd or 4th down in the red zone, he elected to pass instead of run. But to me, this just makes no sense. Like I said yesterday, I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be playing elsewhere. But the more, you look at stuff, there's actually a chance he might not play with Green Bay, which it's really ridiculous in my opinion. I know, okay, you're upset about the Jordan Love pick or whatever, but you have so much talent around you. Stop blaming other people. Step up and freaking win a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that there's also some pettiness behind the scenes with this situation. I think there is some kind of rivalry between Rodgers and Gutekunst, the GM, and that has led both of them down a course that has got us to this point, which has been bad. And this has probably been brewing for a couple of years. I've been a part of working under people where the employees hate the boss, and it almost seems like everyone's trying to team up and rebel against them at a certain point. And I wonder if something like that's going on in Green Bay, and Rodgers has taken it upon himself to kind of be like the leader of that battle. But turning down that contract is a big deal because, like you said, I think that he's out already. I think that they're already probably thinking about trading him. They just don't want to give up on it until they absolutely have to give up on it. Also, he's a very hard player to move with his contract. Very, 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 very hard because it's hard to ask for a ton of capital when you're asking a team to take on $40 million with a 37-year-old quarterback. But it's still going to happen. Someone's going to give up a lot. I gave the New York Giants, but I'm really just trying to keep him out of Denver as a Chargers fan at all costs. But yeah, I think it's a lot of pettiness with the Aaron Rodgers situation. And with him declining an extension, that eliminates money as being an issue for him, which makes it seem to me that it's more pettiness than anything. And if there's a stubborn head in this, whether it's the GM or Aaron Rodgers, this isn't going to get fixed until someone matures up and says, hey, whether it's Rodgers saying I got to be there for my teammates no matter how much I hate or love the organization, or if the organization saying, hey, Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great, he's a Green Bay Packer all-time great, maybe we should just give in to what he wants us to do. Whatever it is that he wants them to do. It seems like it's a culture thing from everything that he has said about it, though.
And if Aaron Rodgers would have signed, this extension, he would have had 5 years left on his deal with Green Bay. And so he would be, I believe, 41, 42, something like that. And it's like he just won an MVP. And I know I said it, but you have so much talent. I just don't get. You don't see Matthew Stafford complaining in Detroit, who's one of the most underrated quarterbacks of the past decade. You put a Super Bowl ring with Matthew Stafford, you can make a case he's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's that underrated. But with Stafford, during his time with Detroit, he had Megatron for a few years, but he's had Galladay, which he made him into a star, and Marvin Jones. Aside from that, he's not really had anybody really good at all. When Rodgers has had countless guys who are very, very productive, Rodgers has just been to like one. He's won a Super Bowl, just one in his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
Brady won a Super Bowl with far, far less talent. Other quarterbacks that won with teams far less talent. Example: Nick Foles. Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl with far less talent than Aaron Rodgers has. Aaron Rodgers, I understand he's mad with the front office and everything, but there has to be a point in time like, you need to stop blaming other people because you're fully capable of winning a Super Bowl. He's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. He just won the MVP last season. He needs to stop blaming other people and stop acting like a diva, like an NBA player would. It just, this whole situation to me is really ridiculous. And the more as we get closer to the NFL season, at first, I thought this may be kind of a situation that was blown out of proportion, like the whole Russell Wilson situation. But as we get closer, this looks like this is a completely different scenario, and it's crazy to say there's actual chance that Aaron Rodgers might not play for the Green Bay Packers. I know we've said this for years. When Peyton Manning was with the Colts, we would never imagine him with a different team. They're winning a Super Bowl with Denver. We never, ever, ever thought Tom Brady would be on a different team. He ends up going to Tampa Bay and wins Super Bowl his first season in the NFC. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl his first year in the NFC and already has as many Super Bowl rings as Rodgers has his whole career with so much talent. This situation to me is just absolutely crazy. But I really feel like Aaron Rodgers just needs to stop, being a diva in a way.
Yeah. In this contract dispute, if both sides wanted to make it work, they could have made it work. This was not an unfixable situation. Both sides did not want to make this work as badly as both sides are saying they want to make this work. That's why it's not going to work out for Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers.
So you mentioned the Giants. What would be if you're in New York and Gettleman, what would be a trade that you were offered to Green Bay for Rodgers?
Daniel Jones, a bunch of first-round picks, maybe a defensive player. I don't know. They picked up Adoree Jackson, so maybe they give up one of the DBs that are behind him. But it's going to take 2 or 3 first-round picks and a valuable player and maybe a project player, which would be Daniel Jones. Let Daniel Jones and Jordan Love battle for that spot in Green Bay. I don't know. I'm just trying to spitball here. Really, the destination that makes sense is the Broncos. The Broncos are 4 deep at the cornerback position. That's a position the Green Bay Packers need very badly. They almost don't need anything else other than cornerbacks and maybe safeties, you could say. And the Broncos are deep at safety also. The Broncos could also send a guy like KJ Hamler with a corner, a Surtain Hamler package with some picks, or even maybe Tim Patrick with Patrick Surtain and some picks. I don't know who it's going to be. I hope it's not the Denver Broncos, though. But they just make this so much sense just because they have what Green Bay would want, and they also have done this crap in the past.
I feel like the Giants, if they were to, or whoever trades for Aaron Rodgers, they have to trade their starting quarterback to Green Bay. And I know it sounds weird because, Jordan Love's supposed to be this, guy who's going to be good, but we've never seen him start an NFL game. So to me, I think he's extremely a question mark. I thought he was extremely overrated coming out of college. I never understood the hype with him. But let's say, if you would, trade him to the Giants, I would say, Jones, at least 2 first-round picks next season because they had that one from the Bears, probably another first-round pick. And to me, maybe a guy like Sterling Shepard, because the Packers could really use some wide receivers. Whether Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback or not, that's one of the more weaker part of their offense the past couple of seasons. And with Denver, I feel like you have to trade, whether it's Locke or Bridgewater, to Green Bay, 3 first-round picks, and I believe I cannot remember who I had the trade of. But I was either KJ Hamler or Tyree Cleveland, one of those guys. Maybe if you have if you trade one less first round pick, maybe you trade a guy like Courtland Sutton. And I know it's a lot to trade up, But let's say Locke, 2 firsts, and Cortland Sutton. I know Sutton's going to be he's coming off an injury, though. I'm a big fan of him. But you're able to get the reigning MVP on the Broncos team, the most underrated offense in the NFL, in my opinion. They were the team who I thought was going to be the surprise team last year, but Locke just completely sucked. And they have a really, really nice defense.
Yeah.
Looking at rosters, I feel like the Broncos definitely have the most underrated roster in the whole NFL. They can get consistent quarterback play. I think they're a playoff team. If they can get great quarterback play from Aaron Rodgers, to me, they are 100% a Super Bowl contender immediately. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they ended up winning the AFC West if Rodgers was their quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, that defense is going to be unbelievable again if they can stay healthy this year. Vic Fangio, obviously a defensive guru known for his defenses that he's rolled out for the past 20 years in the NFL, and now you've given him a secondary, which is absolutely ridiculous, with Kareem Jackson coming back for minimum money, Justin Simmons, and you look at those corners with Darby. They picked up Darby. They got Surtain. They got Fuller. They still got Bryce Callahan in there. They got I think they call him O, but his name's Ojemudia or something like that. Like, these guys are 5 deep at every position in the secondary. And you look at the D line, you got Chubb and Von Miller rushing the edges. Like, this could be a scary defense. Now you pair that with a scary offense. Jerry Jeudy, like you said, if they traded Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy is a very capable wide receiver 1 when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, because Jerry Jeudy is a technician, a technical style receiver. He is exactly what Rodgers likes to throw to. He is a baby version of Devontae Adams, similar style receiver. And then when you look at KJ Hamler, if they can hold on to him, reminds me a ton of Randall Cobb, which is you just kind of playing right into Rodgers' role. I think another outside team, as much as I hate to say it, if they package Derek Carr with some picks, the Green Bay Packers would probably be interested in that, because Carr could keep the Packers as competitors there in their division versus having Locke or Jordan Love or any of those other guys. But the Raiders have voiced that they want to re-sign Carr, so do it.
The one thing with Carr, though, is, he only has, I believe, 2 years on his deal. So if that trade were to happen, I feel like, okay, you just said the Raiders want to extend Carr. You extend Carr, and the next day you trade him to Green Bay. I feel like that. I feel like that if Carr would get traded, that has to happen, because they have to make the contracts to work out and everything. But, I've kind of thought about the Raiders before, but I just don't feel like they have enough, skill players to, give up like the Giants and the Broncos do. But if they were to get Rodgers, that's a very intriguing team. Let's say you give Derek Carr 2 firsts and, I don't know, maybe a wide receiver or so. I feel like that's a very intriguing offer for Green Bay. But at the same time, I feel like they want tons of draft picks, but also the best quarterback they could possibly get. And we've talked about the Giants, Broncos, and Raiders. Out of the 3, Derek Carr is the best quarterback, and it's not even close. So at that standpoint, I think that makes it really intriguing. But I do kind of feel like maybe these 3 teams are the most likely to maybe trade for him. But this whole situation is crazy. It's going to be very interesting to see where he goes, if he stays, if he even plays again, or if he hosts Jeopardy. I mean, we just do not know. But kind of switching gears to wrestling. Past couple of days, there were some big returns. We'll get the crappy return out of the way in Goldberg. What are your thoughts on Goldberg returning to WWE?
It's another Goldberg return. The crowd gets hyped. They all chant Goldberg, and then Goldberg puts together a nice little 6-minute match. And at the end of the month, whenever the pay-per-view is, what is going to be? SummerSlam, right? I'm not as in tune with WWE as I used to be. I think SummerSlam's the next big one. I know Cena is coming back to face Reigns for SummerSlam. So I assume Goldberg versus Lashley at SummerSlam. And it'll be underwhelming, but just getting Goldberg back out there for the hype of it, I guess, is fun. And I'm going to try and creep my way back into the WWE world just for a little while. Now that the crowd is back, this seems like a point where they're going to turn the volume up a little bit and get a little more open and more crazy with the creative.
You mentioned a 6-minute match for Goldberg. Honestly, I think that's kind of generous. I mean, he can maybe go 2 or 3 minutes. But with him, it's like, what you're getting, spear, jackhammer, and a promo that says you're next. I mean, that's the only thing he can do. And to me, they're making Bobby Lashley kind of like, I've not really paid much attention to WWE. But the things I paid like the thing with Bobby Lashley, at this point, they're making him this guy who like squash matches. You know, we've seen in the past years ago with Cena and Lesnar at SummerSlam, where Cena was suplexed, I think, like 15 times or something like that. Like they're making Bobby Lashley this guy who's not going to lose at all. And I feel like bringing Goldberg, a guy who's was known for a winning streak and short matches, maybe they bring with the Goldberg and Lashley feud. That's just another guy you put on Bobby Lashley's resume that he beat in his amazing squash match campaign or whatever you would say it. But to me, this still makes no sense. A guy who's like 40 or 50 years old, who's a horrible wrestler, I would much rather see a younger wrestler get an opportunity in a championship match. And I know Kofi Kingston fought Lashley the other day for a title, and that was over in like 2 or 3 minutes. But get a guy from who is kind of starting up, who the fans love. Not a guy like Goldberg, in my opinion, who he only has one. This is his last match in the contract with his WWE, and to me, I just don't get the obsession with Goldberg. At first, I thought it was extremely entertaining, when he came back with Lesnar. At this point, it is so old. I mean, WWE, Cena's back and the fans are back, and then they bring this crap of Goldberg to really kind of let, the fans down in a way.
Wait. This is why I stopped watching the product. You're telling me they're using Goldberg's last match and he's going to be in a WWE championship match? And it's known that this is his last match, so we know the result.
Goldberg said going into 2021, he had 2 matches on the contract, and he fought Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble, so this is his second match.
We already have a good legendary match set up with the Roman Reigns versus the legend. He's kind of a legend now, John Cena. He's a part-timer that comes back. I like your idea of putting someone young, someone up and coming, someone that can actually threaten Bobby Lashley if he's doing this squash match thing. Give them a good show. Lashley could still win it. If you're going to go with the legend route and bring legends back for all your main events, for every big main event, just spend the money on Lesnar. I would rather that than Goldberg.
I agree. And, Paul Heyman has, I don't know how you would say, like cryptic tweets, has posted about Lesnar. There's lots of rumors he could return to WWE. I've seen some rumors him going to AEW. He's not going to AEW. Like, there's no chance. They would have to pay him like quadruple amount of money he would get at WWE. Yeah. Like, he's really WWE loyal. But Lesnar, I think, would make more sense. But, I mean, let's say if Lashley would have a squash match against Lesnar, when Lesnar's in WWE, him and Cena are the top guys. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. And if Lashley would have a squash match against Lesnar, there's not really any other guy he can get bigger than Lesnar. So it's like you have that on your resume. Yeah, I think that would make a sense to have Lesnar and Lashley absolutely humiliate him. Lesnar's in it for the paycheck because he has been for years. So at that standpoint, I think that would make far much more sense than bringing it back over.
Every time you cool off Lesnar and bring him back, it does not matter how the previous storyline resulted. Lesnar will have the same hype when he comes back, no matter what. They could have him lose to Rey Mysterio, and he'll have the same hype when he comes back.
Exactly. It seems like every single match with Lesnar, it's kind of a similar situation with Goldberg. He comes in all of a sudden, immediately like a title match. But, speaking of title matches, now this one I'm intrigued by. Cena coming back to going to face Reigns at SummerSlam. My favorite wrestlers of all time. Number 1 is Jericho. Number 2 is Cena. I'm very, very intrigued by this. I actually had to watch her all yesterday for the first time in probably about 4 or 5 months. But with Cena, it's like, he's arguably one of the, you can make a case, the most popular wrestler of all time, aside from a guy like The Rock. But him coming back to face Reigns is so intriguing. Reigns has been the best heel, and despite what AEW fans say, the best world champion in wrestling the past year, and it's not even close. And then you could bring in Cena, a classic heel versus face main event of SummerSlam. Several years ago, I think it was 2017, Cena and Reigns was one of my favorite feuds of all time. And it's really weird because that was actually one of their short feuds. In WWE, you often see a long feud, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. We saw I believe a 7-month feud with Charlotte and Sasha Banks a couple years ago, which was just horrendous. But with Cena and Reigns a couple years ago, I don't remember which pay-per-view it was. It was only a month, but the way they made it, it was just so amazing. Like Reigns was kind of a tweener, and Cena was the face, and Reigns was constantly talking about Cena, not being there, leaving WWE for Hollywood. To me, it makes it so interesting because, this is a real life situation. Cena's been gone. His last match was over a year ago at WrestleMania against Bray Wyatt. He's been, in different movies and different things. And I feel like this has potential to be one of them. I wish it would be a longer feud because I feel like if Cena wins a championship, I really hope this is a longer feud than it was, just 1 month, maybe 3-4 months. Because I really feel like this has the potential to be one of the best feuds in WWE the past several years.
Well, I think Cena's going to win it and hold it for a little while, for at least up till WrestleMania. I think Cena's back. I don't know if he's going to hold the championship the entire time. They're going to flip it back and forth. But I think that out of this, if it's not at SummerSlam, it's going to be at the next one. John Cena's going to win his 17th WWE World Championship, and he's going to break that record out of this feud. I don't think they'd bring Cena back just to squash him with Reigns, especially when they had the feud before, like you said, which was also really good. I think this one is actually set up to be better than the last one. I think Roman Reigns as a star is more set up to do a better job in this feud than they did in the last one, and Cena has already brought the heat in that promo that he cut. And also, I loved the ending to the Reigns-Edge match and then Cena's eventual return. It was super old school to me. It felt super old school to me. Seth Rollins interferes, always interfering to make sure that heel stays champion. The interference happens. Everyone gets excited. People are thinking this or that. Edge loses, whatever. Roman Reigns is standing there, and that's when the return happens. It was so old school. I loved it. It made me feel like I was in the Ruthless Aggression era again. And Edge and John Cena were involved in it, so it just made it even a little bit more nostalgic for me.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Ruthless Aggression era because, I started watching, I feel like a newbie because I started watching in 2014.
Okay.
But with, Cena, I feel like he's definitely going to win at SummerSlam, in my opinion. But the wait till WrestleMania, I think that's very intriguing and very interesting because at the same, he's been gone for Hollywood from WWE for about a year and a half. For him to stay with WWE for about 9 months or so, 8-9 months, I think that's very interesting. I think it's more likely he maybe wins at SummerSlam, maybe loses his title at Survivor Series against somebody. But to me, I feel like they have to know who's going to beat him though, because if you beat Cena after he beats the record and everything, it has to be somebody huge. The only person that makes sense will be Reigns right now. But if let's say they bring in Lesnar at Survivor Series to beat Cena, God, to me that would, in a way, it makes sense. But to me, I feel like that is just ridiculous. Cena breaks the record. A guy who's been loyal to the WWE for nearly 2 decades now, and then you bring in the part-time guy who just here for the paycheck and has a 15-minute match at the absolute max to defeat him for the title. It's interesting because to me, Lesnar and Reigns are the only people who make any sense at all to beat Cena. But I don't know. I think that's interesting, but I really, really, really hope it doesn't happen.
What if Cena sticks around and he takes the title, and then Roman Reigns kind of just waits around in the background while that Lesnar-Cena feud is going on? Maybe Roman Reigns either goes away or just has a smaller feud with Seth Rollins or somebody. And then Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns wins it again. And we got Cena Reigns at WrestleMania for the main event.
You can't get really bigger than that. That would make that would make some sense. And I don't know. I just really feel like Reigns or Lesnar. Like if you put the title on Cena, it has to be one of those guys. Sure. Nobody wants to see it Lesnar. People who want to see Reigns, honestly, I don't really understand that because Reigns has had the title. We're getting close to be about a year now. By the time SummerSlam happens, I think it'll be a year. But to me, I feel like Cena's going to win at SummerSlam. This is the only reason he's came back to get the championship, to get the record and everything. Deservingly so because he's been a guy who's been with WWE forever. But whoever beats him, though, I feel like whoever beats him, they're the next top star. McIntyre, he's been a top guy for WWE for the past year. and people were wanting him to be, this megastar. And by the time he got to the megastar, people were starting to get tired of him because he was getting in the main event scene too much. But at the same time, it's like, unless you build up this guy who's like out of nowhere, like if you build up Seth Rollins to what he used to be with the authority with Triple H and Kane, unless it's a guy like that, just Reigns and Lesnar, unfortunately, those are the only two people who make sense. Reigns against Cena at WrestleMania, to me, I feel like that would be very, very intriguing in the best possible way. Because, Cena can kind of ride off in the sunset. He beat the title. He broke the record. He's in the main event, basically, of like the wrestling Super Bowl. What more does he have to do to cement himself as one of the best of all time? Then you have Reigns, who has another long championship reign. I think that would honestly probably make the most sense.
They could make it like a Street Fight or something too, something that fits both of their aggressive style characters. What about a triple threat match? Also, that's kind of scary. Think about Lesnar, Reigns, Cena. That'd be a ton of fun, and that would bring back their return on investment on Lesnar for sure.
And we've actually kind of seen a couple of triple threat championship matches that involve Lesnar. Because Royal Rumble years ago, it was Cena, Rollins, and Lesnar.
Yep.
And then WrestleMania, I think it was Cena and Reigns, Rollins catching the Money in the Bank as well. So, okay, maybe it's Cena against Lesnar at WrestleMania, and you mentioned Reigns catches the Money in the Bank during the match type of deal. I mean, we're getting way out there, and I feel like the more I talk about this, the more I feel like this should actually happen. But we know WWE's logic; it's honestly probably not going to happen though.
Yeah, it'll probably be they'll mess it up somehow, or like you said, Cena will come back for a very short time, and this will all just go away, and we'll just get a little burst of excitement out of the crowd coming back. Because I think that's what they're doing it for. They've been saving this for when they can put the crowd back in the stadiums.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Money in the Bank was the first, pay-per-view that's had fans in, a year and a half. And to me, I thought that was honestly probably smarter by WWE to have Cena at Money in the Bank opposed to Raw. I understand if you say, Raw, Cena's going to return. But people thought he was going to return. But the fact that it was at Money in the Bank, to me, honestly, makes it kind of more surprising because it wasn't actually on, actually TV was on a pay-per-view. But to me, I feel like Cena returning under Reigns' feud has a ton of potential. Definitely has potential to be one of the best feuds we've seen in quite some time. It'll be really interesting to see the return of Cena. Hopefully, he wins the title at SummerSlam. So, we kind of talked about the NBA Finals in the game tonight against the Bucks and the Suns. Zion should be on the U.S. men's Olympic team. Cam Akers, unfortunately, being out for the year. Melvin Ingram to Pittsburgh, and despite him signing, they're still going to finish last in the AFC North. Aaron Rodgers' situation and the odds of him possibly not being with Green Bay, Goldberg returning, and Cena returning. So, Mike, can you tell some of the listeners who can follow you on social media?
First of all, what a loaded show. Thanks for having me on today. I know we scheduled this earlier in the week, so we did not expect John Cena, Cam Akers, Aaron Rodgers news in the same couple of days, but it happened and it worked out, so we got a lot to talk about today. So thanks for having me on. You guys can find me at Mike on the Mic Sports for my personal stuff on all platforms. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Mike on the Mic Sports, go and find me. And I work for and work with and I'm co-founder of the Warzone Sports Network. If you guys want to go check out the Warzone Sports Network, we just passed 1,000 subscribers. We have a ton of fun over there. We are the network for the fans, built by fans. So please go and check us out if you're a fan of sports.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, joining everything. I'll put the links in the description so people can follow you. Definitely if you're watching, make sure to go check out the Warzone Sports Network. It's a very entertaining, channel, has lots of different sports involved. I do lots of subs, but you're always basically the only one I'll actually sit down and watch. It's very, very good and stuff. You have lots of different people on there. And, that about does it for this episode. Make sure to, subscribe to the channel and like this video. Follow me, The Sports 2 Hines Show on Instagram and Twitter. I'll see you all next time on The Sports 2 Hines Show.